Our next professor teaches the famous US and the World 35 dilemmas of equity and excellence in the American K-12 education. Kay Merseth is one of the college's highest-ranked professors with an average Q score of 4.83. Hundreds of students lottery for the few spots of her class each year.
The add drop deadline is coming up, so if after this you want to add the class, may the odds be ever in your favor. Please welcome Kay Merseth.
So who are you, Harvard? What are you all about? I'm here tonight to try to convince you of something. Same picture that you saw earlier, but this one's got a little enhancement to it. And I want you, every person in this room, to consider teaching. Right. Either as a short-term or a long-term career. You don't have to teach forever, but each and every one of you has the potential to touch lives by being a teacher. We know the importance of the teacher. The main influence on student achievement is the classroom teacher, the quality of the teacher and the teaching. But I want to say more than that. It's not just the academic achievement. It's the well-being of human beings. Why do I want you to consider teaching? The only way our country will ever meet the needs of all of its citizens is to have capable, thoughtful, committed teachers involved with their children. Now, some of you are sitting there saying, oh, come on, you know, I'm paying all this money for this Harvard education. My parents would absolutely die if I decided to be a teacher. But think about this. The future of our society depends on our children. They represent 20% of our population, and they're 100% of our future. And they're 100% of my Social Security. So there are many ways to be a teacher. You don't have to be like your third grade teacher or your 10th grade geometry teacher whom you absolutely despised. You can be a classroom teacher. You can be a coach. You can be a parent. You could be a friend, a counselor, a sibling, a brother or a sister, or a spiritual leader. All of these individuals teach and impact lives. Now you may say, whoops, look at teachers, wow. You may say, still, yeah, I don't know, you know, who wants to coach little kids? You know, you gotta wipe their snotty noses and clean up. But this is the fact I want you to remember tonight, that every kid, every child in our society is one caring adult away from being a success. And my question to you tonight is, who are you, Harvard? Are you willing to make this commitment? To make a better society for all of us? I want you to think for a moment about classroom teaching. Put that medical school idea out of your mind. Put that idea of law school, the corporate people in New York. I want you to think about teaching. How outrageous is that? How do I have the you-know-whats to stand up here and suggest this to folks like you? It's because I carry a passion about teaching. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, I'm just creatively insane. Why, though, would I ask you to come into a profession that is rocked? You can't pick up a newspaper today without reading something dreadful about the schools, about the dropout rates, about the kids who are not well served by our schools, about how the test scores are in the basement. How can I stand up here and ask this of you? This is why. I want you to picture a big old elementary school, a great big one, maybe like this one, columns, steps. And a remarkable thing happens every year, year after year, at this school, or a school that you imagine. The day after Labor Day, usually there's a kindergartner who might be kind of holding on to his mommy's lap or, behind his uncle's, pants, and they're walking up the steps of this big, huge building. And the child is afraid. It looks really scary. And frankly, the adult caregiver is also a little nervous. But a remarkable thing happens. This adult caregiver walks up those stairs with the little child's hand and walks down the hall and says, okay, it's room 102. And this parent gives this child to the teacher. They give the most precious thing in the world to teachers. There is a hope, an aspiration, a desperate feeling that schools will do well by our children. And this adult, sometimes breaking with tears, feeling really sad, turns around and walks away. And this child is placed in our care to help mold his or her future. So America has tremendous faith in schooling, and we need to not squander it. We need to capitalize on that belief that schooling will do well by each and every child in our country. So why teach? Do you like to learn? To teach, and I'm sure the faculty here tonight can tell you, is really to learn. Those verbs interchange in remarkable ways. So if you like to learn, you'll like teaching. Teaching is hugely challenging, and it's never boring. No two classes, no two students, no 2 years, no two courses are exactly the same. It's like we all get onto a toboggan on top of a very snowy bank, and we jump on, and we're going for a ride. We don't exactly know how it's going to end up, but we hope it ends up well and not hitting a tree. Do you love your subject matter? You studying human evolutionary biology or social studies or economics? Try teaching it. You will know more about your subject matter by having taught it than you know by just simply studying by yourself. And finally, teaching is a constant puzzle. It's how do I think about this material and this pedagogical approach, and how do I put it together? And that's where the artistry of teaching comes together. Maybe a lecture isn't a good idea. Maybe today we should play with blocks. And maybe tomorrow a lecture is the perfect idea. But that's the puzzle and the beauty and the intellectual challenge of being a teacher. So what are pathways to teaching? Do you have to go through those dreary ed school classes? Read about John Dewey, all these folks? Well, I've got a big idea for you. The first one is a pathway that we have already for Harvard College students, which is called UTEP. It runs concurrent with graduation, so if you're determined to get through Harvard, to walk out with a teaching credential, to teach anywhere in the country, maybe to go back to your high school and set it right, you can do that while you're a Harvard College student. You take 4 courses, you spend time student teaching, actually trying to do the real thing, and when you walk down the aisle at graduation, you have a credential as a professional. That we've had. It's really, really hard to do because you want to write a thesis, you want to run events like this, you just don't have a lot of time. So we've developed a new path, and this is the big idea. It's called the Harvard Teacher Fellowship. It's meant to be on par with the Marshall, with the Rhodes, where you are awarded a coveted position in a program where after you've written your thesis, after you apply in December, we're not naive, it's the same time that you might apply for Teach for America. But we ask you to apply, you write your thesis, and then in March, when seniors are kind of like kicked back, like, what have I got to do? We work with you to help you begin to understand teaching. We put you in schools, we do child study, we do talk a little about John Dewey, not too much, because I'm a real practical gal. And then you graduate in May, and the month of June, we spend in a teaching laboratory where we work on your moves, we work on how you give it directions, we work on what you communicate to students, how you set up a classroom. Then in the summer, we do the Cambridge-Harvard Summer Academy, where you actually teach real kids with real problems who may give you, challenges. And in the fall, we put you in classrooms, not here in Boston. We've talked to you and we hear you're tired of Cambridge, you don't like the snow. So we're setting up internships for you in urban areas. It could be Detroit, it could be Denver, it could be Washington, it could be New York. You will be paid as a professional for 80% teaching time, and Harvard will pay another 20% so that we can work with you. Because we know that you learn about teaching, sure, in programs, but you also learn about teaching when you are teaching, and that's when we need to be there. So this is our fellowship program. It's a big idea. It's really transformative. We hope that once we start it here at Harvard, Yale might consider it. Princeton, Oberlin, Williams, because everyone knows the power of having folks like you in classrooms with kids. Now, is this a life sentence? Do you have to do this the rest of your life? Absolutely not. I've always maintained that teaching is a terrific preparation for any other professional role. Being responsible for children, for high schoolers, is a terrific training for being a doctor or a lawyer. So there are the details about our program. I've described it pretty much to you. The other big payoff is that after that first year of teaching, you come back here and you have a more summer program, and you are granted credit toward a master's degree. And folks, it is free. It is a fellowship. And we intend to make it just as competitive as a Marshall or a Rhodes. So, are you with me, Harvard? Everyone in this room has been impacted by a teacher. I ask you to take just one moment and think of that teacher. Who made a difference in your life? And my bet is that within nanoseconds, everyone in the room came up with a name or a face or an experience where a teacher made a difference in your life. Everyone in this room has the potential to be such a teacher. Every one of you. Why not you? So I ask you, is there anyone in this hall tonight who would take a stand for teaching? Is there anyone? Thank you.